So I'm a veteran. I file my intent to file. 3 months goes by. The change is now implemented. I file my claim a month after the change is implemented, and they decide my claim 6 months later. What's the VA going to look at since I've kind of transcended this whole rating schedule change? I filed my claim after the change date, but my intent to file was before, and all of that. What does that look like for somebody?
Absolutely. So 2 things. One, and this person wants to remain anonymous for reasons, but straight from his mouth, who is a senior VA rater, VA raters do not understand the process for this situation. One, which is even more important for veterans to understand. So this is extremely important. And to answer your question, and I wanted to preface that there because that is extremely, extremely important. I'm going to use the GERD and IBS change, which is May 19th, because that is a solid date, okay? So let's say I had my intent to file February of this year prior to the GERD IBS change, and I was going to submit for GERD and IBS. Got it. Cool beans. But May 19th happened. I still had the intent to file. I filed my claim today, right? So the GERD IBS changes already happened. What does the VA do? And here's the answer. The answer is, first, because your intent to file is prior to the change, the VA will consider both rating schedules. They have to. They also have to give you the highest rating awarded. So for GERD IBS, it would be the combination of, okay, is the prior change of GERD IBS 1, does that rate a higher overall rating? If so, that's what we go for. Or does the separation of GERD IBS, 2 separate ratings, does that rate a higher evaluation? That is what the VA is supposed to do. Not my opinion. This is their policy. Now, that's why I really wanted to bring up the comment from the senior rater that said raters don't know what they're doing. Hello, newsflash, right? And so I think it's critical. It's absolutely critical for veterans to have an intent to file right now for sleep apnea. We'll talk about tinnitus and mental health here in a second, but sleep apnea, I think, is by far the most important to have that intent to file. Because if you can wear your CPAP or your mouth guard or whatever it is you got going on, and you would have rated 50% on the old schedule, but the new schedule says, well, it works, so now you're 0, the VA has to take the highest rating. That is what's, we can talk about sleep apnea this and sleep apnea that. That is what's most important right now. And I think if you're watching this, you need to get the word out that if you are going to claim sleep apnea, whether that's an increase, an initial claim, whatever, a secondary, get the intent to file now. Can sleep apnea drop tomorrow? It could. I don't think the VA will do that personally, but it could. Okay. And that intent to file is going to save you a 50% rating, which is pretty darn solid, especially if that is your highest rating. But that's pretty much what would happen, Jason, for a rating schedule change. And the scary part is VA raters don't understand that change. And, it gets into like the hiring of the VBA. They've hired tons of new raters and they're new. I understand that. But the bottom line is they don't understand the rating changes. They don't understand the rules. And there was actually, this is an offshoot. There was an OIG report about hip replacements, and there was a rating change for hip replacements on surgery and hips and knees specifically. And then of the raters that were trained, over 80% of them failed their test at the end of the training on the changes to those surgery benefits. So it's like, okay, 1 or 2 people fail, not a big deal. 80% of those who are in charge to rate based off of that change failed the test. That OIG report came out this year, by the way. That is something to keep in mind. So I think it is critical for veterans to really understand what the VA is supposed to do when it comes to a rating change for sleep apnea. That's really my thoughts on the whole sleep apnea change. I agree with you. I think it's way, way too hard of a swing. because of a treatment, just because you're treated and you're 0%, it doesn't mean your sleep apnea has gone away at all. In fact, you take that treatment and you throw it in the trash, sleep apnea is going to come right back, right? It's just, it's too hard of a shot in the chest, in my opinion. Do you have any last thoughts on sleep apnea, or did you want to transition to tinnitus?
Yeah, no, I want to throw in a couple things here. One,
Yeah,
just to kind of double tap on what you said. So look, it is very important that you understand, like Clay said, the process and what needs to happen in order to preserve the effective date and essentially the rating criteria pre the change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, like Clay said, the VA could get it wrong, but as long as you got it right, you can fix that. Even if you have to push it to the Board of Veterans Appeals, which is primarily the course that you take when it comes to the legal aspects, them following the rule. Now, you might be able to get it done with a higher level review or what have you, but you can always go to the board. Takes longer. Suggest that's not the first option. Try it with the higher level review first, and make sure you check that little box for the informal conference so you can have that conversation and explain the situation with a higher level reviewer. You should be able to get that dialed in. So it's what they won't do for you is, and this is why it's so important that you file that intent to file. They're not going to go, oh, well, you've had sleep apnea for 7 years and you're just now filing for it after the rating change, but you had it 7 years ago. We'll go back to 7 years ago and we'll acknowledge that and give you the old rate. No, they don't do that. And I know that people think that things like that could happen. They won't. Just like, well, I've had this ever since the military. They should back me to the date I got out, right? I didn't know I could file for this until today. It's 30 years ago. They're not going to. It's only going to be from the date that you say I'm filing for this. With your intent to file, here's a little nugget. Sometimes people don't understand, but your intent to file does not specify what you're going to file a claim for. As far as a condition is concerned. The only thing it asks is, are you going to file a compensation claim, which would be a service-connected condition compensation claim, or are you going to file a pension claim? So that's your two questions onto what type of a claim you're going to file. For most of us, it's going to be the compensation side, my bad back, my bad knee, my sleep apnea. So you're just going to check that compensation box, and that's it. They don't know what you're filing for. They don't know if you're going to file for one condition or 7 conditions. So with that, we'll go ahead and transition back over to you, Clay.